Make sure you download the Woodward Sports app in the App Store and the Google Play Store today. Take Woodward Sports with you wherever you go and listen live on your phone or mobile device.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network, live, woodwardsports.com. As always, Adham, Beydoun, Jeff, Iafrate on a beautiful Wednesday morning. Jeff, looking clean today, by the way. Love the look.
Yeah, I'm in all white. It's a special day. I saw the prep last night. I was excited. We got some interesting topics to get into, passionate topics. So I had to make sure I came correct today.
I typically like to spend my nights with family. I like to give my wife some of my time, and then I dive into the trenches of preparing for a show super late at night. And while I was doing it last night, I ran into a interesting issue on Twitter, an interesting conversation, and I decided that today we are going to spend a huge portion of the first hour on a conversation I'm very passionate about, I'm very serious about, with this Detroit Lions team and their quarterback, Jared Goff. Because the truth about Jared Goff needs to be spoken, and it's 1,000% the fucking truth, and I'm tired of people either dodging it, I'm tired of people not acknowledging it, refusing to accept what is happening here in Detroit. I can't fucking wait to have this conversation. That's coming up at 8:15. Be fucking ready. That's all I'm going to tell you guys. Get ready. Because I'm coming after every single one of you in about, 12 minutes. Having said that, we got a fun show planned after the Jared Goff stuff. 8:45 fan mock drafts. How do you not? As Fish would say. 9 o'clock, Rich Eisen on the Detroit Lions and how he will be on the bandwagon.
And it's not just him either. There's a lot of people coming in.
It's not just him, but I found his comments to be the most interesting.
Yeah.
9:15, Cam Newton's hype video. Look, I don't want to spend too much time on the Cam Newton stuff. We actually have two segments in one for that. Two topics, I should say. But Cam Newton, if you want to know why you don't have a job in the NFL, that stupid fucking hype video is exactly why. We'll get to that later in the show. Lamar Jackson being screwed by the Baltimore Ravens. I think that's a real conversation that needs to be had. But I also think you can't just scream, pay him, and not have the conversation about why you should or shouldn't. So, Jeff, I think you and I are really going to get into a debate over that conversation, and it's going to be a fun show. We'll get KoolAid in at 9:40. We're going to have a chill show. Everybody's going to be calm. Everybody is going to be nice, I would imagine. But let's start off the show with probably, I think the easiest way to start any show is to just acknowledge what's going on first. We talked a little bit about free agency and the players they've gone for and the players they've re-signed and the direction the team is going in. But you know what, Jeff? I've watched a lot of Detroit Lions football in my life. I've watched front offices build decent rosters and then completely tear them apart. I've watched countless teams disappoint. I've seen coaches throw away games. I've seen it all in Detroit, just like I'm sure all of you have. But what I've never seen is what Brad Holmes and company have been able to build in such a short period of time. You know, I remember not too long ago when they first took the jobs, I was criticized for saying if by year 3 they haven't won the division, they should leave town. And if they can't compete for the division, they should leave town. You're smiling because, one, you know it's true.
Spot on.
And two, you know that was the backlash.
Yeah. You said that day one, by the way.
But it's true, though, because anybody worth their salt in the NFL can turn it around in 2 years. We see teams turn it around in 1. Especially when you have the GM who kind of knows what he's doing, and then you nail the coach. That's when everything changes.
And you got a good enough quarterback to do it.
So I think we're in such a great place with the Detroit Lions this morning, is that you're going to be talking about a football team, Jeff, that's not going to be here for this year or next year or for a 3-year window or a 5-year window, you could make the case this team is set up to have 6 winning seasons in the next 8 minimum, given the core of this roster is so young. You have options moving forward. You have a quarterback who's 28 years old. Now, there are a lot of factors that go into this. I'm not just going to sit here and throw out what I think, but let's be real. If I told you Jalen Carter, or hell, fuck Jalen Carter. If I told you Will Anderson was the pick in some third-dimensional world, you would tell me they have a top 5 roster, no? Who would have a better roster if they address the defensive line?
You get the best player among many in the draft. Yeah, that boosts your roster.
And if you walk away with Carter or Cansey, you're still going to feel really good about it.
Absolutely.
Oh, and you still have pick 18 and 48, 55. There's a lot to work with here. So the Lions are in a great situation, Jeff. That's really how I wanted to open up the show today, because there is one absolute fact that nobody can deny. And that is, this is the most talented roster the Detroit Lions have ever fielded since the 2016 roster. Year 1 Caldwell, I want to say it was 16. Yeah. This is the most talented roster they've fielded in almost a decade. And I could argue, I've never seen this team ever acquire free agents the way they have. So, Jeff, I'm waking up this morning. You and I are going to have a great show. Everybody in the chat, we're all going to enjoy ourselves today. We're going to take phone calls. We're going to do fan mock drafts. We're going to have it all. But I think it's important to just let it out that this team is for real.
Would you go as far as to say they're contenders?
Yes.
So the rebuild.
With the mindset that they're probably going to address the interior line on the defensive side at 6, yes.
Yeah, with the draft that has yet to come. Because Big D Energy talked about this yesterday, and I know Neil was a little hesitant on going that far as to call them contenders, but to kind of the point you're making, 3 years, and they've progressively gotten better. You go from 3 wins to 9 wins, and now we have a season where you had a pretty good free agency. You're coming off pretty good back-to-back drafts, drafting multiple starters, and you have even more assets, 2 more first-round picks this draft coming up. So I would agree, and especially with Jared Goff, and we're going to get into a lot of different things later about Jared Goff, but the fact that you have Jared, he's good enough to be called. If you have Jared with that roster, they're good enough in my eyes. They're contenders. They're going to keep building and adding to their roster, but they're definitely contenders.
Lions, and I'll name you the teams, and you tell me which roster is better going into this season.
Okay.
Lions or the Eagles?
I would say the Eagles.
Okay, fair. I would agree. Lions or the 49ers?
49ers.
I would agree. Lions or the Saints?
Lions.
Lions or the Vikings?
Lions.
Lions or the Packers?
Lions.
Lions or the Bears?
Lions.
Lions or the Bucks?
Lions.
Lions or the Falcons?
Lions.
Lions or the Panthers?
Panthers. I'm going to give it to the Lions because of the quarterback. At least they have a
Lions
right now.
Or the Rams?
Lions.
Good answer. Lions or the Seahawks?
Lions.
Lions or the Cardinals?
Lions.
You see where we're going here?
It's crazy that we're actually...
Lions or the New York Giants?
Yeah, Lions.
Lions or the Commanders?
Lions.
Lions or the Cowboys? I know you have a stronger...
It's pretty close.
You have more respect for what Dallas has than I do, so I'm not going to kill you for your answer.
But regardless, that's only 2 teams we've named so far that I can say that undoubtedly are better than the Lions.
So
Cowboys are more of a toss-up.
Why is anybody hesitant? Why? Why would Neil be hesitant? I'm actually I'm going to call him during the break and yell at him for that. There's no reason to be hesitant. I understand this franchise has been miserable for 60-plus years. I understand it's been 1 playoff win. I'm very aware of the history. But it doesn't take a fucking rocket scientist to understand that they're figuring it out at the front office level. And dare I say, if Sean Payton ends up being right, and Dan Campbell is the offensive version of Mike Vrabel, what does that mean for Detroit? It means division titles. It means playoff wins. It means a championship appearance. That's what it means. Sign me the fuck up. Oh, and I like to think Brad Holmes is a much more capable GM than the one who traded away A.J. Brown not too long ago, who ended up getting fired, by the way. Yeah. I don't know why there needs to be an if or a could. None of it. They're good enough. They've got the talent. No excuses. I don't want to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not to put pressure on them. That's to acknowledge that they've done a hell of a job rebuilding this team. And they did it, by the way, very quickly, like they fucking should. Like any competent team would. Oh, and they have over $100 million available next offseason. What do you know? So they're not strapped in long-term to anybody. The beauty of having competence in your front office. I don't need to wait for it to happen. They will determine if they get praise or ridiculed during and after the season. That's on them. That's not on me.
Right.
But what I will acknowledge and praise is that is a top 5 roster in the NFL. In the NFL, you could argue a top 5 roster if they address the interior line.
That's it.
You get somebody, you get a stud, Carter, Anderson, or you go for Cansey, who I'm a fan of, but whatever. It's beyond the point. Address the defensive line. You do that. You name me 5 better rosters. Look, Kansas City, all respect to Kansas City. That wasn't the best roster last year. They didn't win the Super Bowl because they were the most talented. Cincinnati had more talent. The 49ers had more talent. The Eagles had more talent. This wasn't a talent issue for the Chiefs, or excuse me, this wasn't a talent-driven team in Kansas City. It was Mahomes, Reed. They made it work with their offensive weapons. They had a dominant front 4, and then they started 4 rookies on defense, and damn it, they made it work.
Coaching.
Not everybody can do that, obviously, but you got a hell of a roster here in Detroit. I don't need to wait on Neil. I don't need to hear anybody being hesitant. If you're hesitant, get over it. Stop being a bitch. Stop being scared. It's okay to expect things from a football team that is delivering at the moment in terms of adding to the roster. They've overhauled the secondary. You couldn't have dreamt a better secondary overhaul. Never in my life did I imagine Mosley, Sutton, and Gardner Johnson.
Yeah.
If you would have told me it was Cam Sutton and the 18th overall pick, I would have been happy. The fuck, Emmanuel Mosley, Gardner Johnson, and Cam Sutton? Yeah, no. This team's legit.
It's like what D-Mac said yesterday. Stoked, not scared. Stoked, not scared. Don't be scared, be stoked. The only thing that could derail this season, and you could probably give them somewhat of a pass, is if Jared Goff breaks his leg. That is the only thing, because last year the Lions were pretty good with injuries. They didn't suffer too many significant injuries. Even if guys
figure
go down,
it out, everybody
they got to be able to
does.
figure it out.
Figure
Absolutely.
it out.
Yeah.
You lose your left tackle, figure it out.
Yeah.
Everybody deals with injuries. The Bengals made an AFC championship run without an offensive line. Fucking figure it out.
That's how it works.
No excuses, man. No excuses. I don't want to hear well, I'm not ready to give my faith in the Lions. Shut the fuck up, man. If this free agency period hasn't done enough for your confidence, wait till the NFL draft. I don't need to hear or see anything anymore. Brad Holmes has my complete confidence. I know for a fact this team will not struggle for talent for the next 5-10 years if he's here. Whether or not they win the big games, they win the division, that's up to the coaching and players. They can figure that out. Let's take a break. When we get back, quite the opening rant. I wasn't expecting that, to be honest with you, but Jared Goff. All of you pay very close attention to what I'm about to say coming out of the break.
I can't wait.
We're going to have an honest conversation about Jared Goff. And if none of you want to admit what is happening, I will be more than happy to show you the door or hit you across the head with a baseball bat. Because this is fucking common sense. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out. So we'll do Jared Goff next, coming up in just a bit. But before we go, Jeff, our good friends over at Guardian Alarm.
Let me tell you about them, guys. Guardian Alarm, the best defense on this planet Earth, and it's Guardian Alarm. Let Guardian Alarm help you get customized solutions from real experts. Their professional technicians take the time to recommend security and automation solutions specific to your needs. They also have 24/7 professional monitoring. You can call them anytime, day or night. Know that a Guardian team member will stay on the phone with you for as long as you need. Your safety and security deserves technology that's been proven to work by people that have been proven to care. Call 1-800-STAY-OUT today.
Saturdays at 1 p.m. Make sure you're watching WoodwardSports.com for our new show, Chompin' Puck.
He shoots! He scores!
With four-time Stanley Cup champion Darren McCarty and Michael Gentry, Chompin' Puck is taking the Detroit hockey community and giving them a voice. Pros to Joes. You'll get the best Detroit hockey coverage around. Chompin' Puck. Saturdays 1 p.m. on WoodwardSports.com.
Introducing the Planet Fitness Guide to getting that post-workout glow. Step 1. What's your why? More epic energy? Better sleep? Blow off steam? Step 2. Join Planet Fitness for just $10 a month and get moving in our clean and spacious clubs. Step 3. Bask in that post-workout glow. Join Planet Fitness today for just $10 a month.
Join today at any of the 50-plus Detroit area locations.
It's a great day to get some Centron in your life. Okay. There it is. Centron, here we go. Gotta grab the cranberry. Oh wait, it's 2 for $4. Gotta double up with the classic as well. Centron World, baby. Centron, available at select Krogers, and if you wanna know how, go to @CentronWorld.com. You get dope like me. You know what? Why wait? Great taste, guaranteed.
We are the network for Detroit by Detroiters. Welcome to the Woodward Sports Network.
All right, let me tell you about my good friends over at Custom Health Centers. Sign up today for a life-changing journey. Ryan Romani's already been on it. My brother now down 14 pounds since he started, and he's very happy. He's a changed man, so I'm very happy for him. Give him a call, Dr. Jason, 844-789-8446. That's 844-789-8446. We are back here on the Morning Woodward Show live. WoodwardSports.com is always missing the show live. You can always go back and download the podcast, whether on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. You'll be able to listen to the show after the fact. Jeff, good morning.
I'm very excited for this, by the way.
Gear up. It's going to get ugly. Okay, look.
I'm ready to get ugly.
Look, everybody. I will start off by saying this. I, Adham Beydoun, I am optimistic for what is next with this football team. Having said that, we need to have a real conversation about who Jared Goff is as a quarterback, compare it to other situations in the NFL, and debunk the theory that not only can you not win with him, but you can't get to a Super Bowl, let alone win a Super Bowl with or because of Jared Goff. Okay. Well, let's start with the fact that outside of his rookie year and his first year in Detroit, so his first year at both destinations, which were disasters, the fewest amount of games Jared Goff in his career has ever won was 9. He did it twice with the Rams in his final 2 years, and then last year with the Lions. Jared Goff last year posted a quarterback rating of 99.5, a career high in the last 4 years, prior to his 2 years where he had 100 and 100.1, where he was an MVP candidate in Los Angeles. That was only 5 years ago, where he posted an 11-4 and 13-3 record, may I remind you, with a good offense, yes, a very good coach, a very good defense, yes, absolutely. I want you to really remember those words: good coach, good offense, very good defense. I want you to circle that, store it here. Store it, because it's going to matter in about 5 minutes. All right? So, to everybody that is doubting Jared Goff, or they believe he's not the guy. Let me educate you on why the fuck he is exactly the guy for the Detroit Lions, not only this year, not only for next year, but you could make the argument to extend him for the foreseeable future. And I'll tell you why. Alex, if you don't mind, you can throw it up on the screen. Now, here are the last 11 starting quarterbacks, or excuse me, here are the last starting quarterbacks from the last 11 Super Bowls. Here are the quarterbacks. Joe Flacco, average. Colin Kaepernick, garbage. Russell Wilson, elite. Peyton Manning, the first time, or technically the second time, but elite with Denver the first time. He was god-awful the second time. Tom Brady, Cam Newton, Matt Ryan, Nick Foles. Cam Newton, Matt Ryan, Nick Foles, all average. All had a good season, especially Matt Ryan, who had an MVP season, just like Cam Newton did. Jared Goff, Jimmy Garoppolo, who you would consider average. And then there's Patrick Mahomes, Matthew Stafford, Jalen Hurts, who is still to be determined. I wouldn't put him in the elite category with a Mahomes, a Burrow, a Stafford, or a Tom Brady. But Jalen Hurts looks really promising. So you could argue he's up there, right? But think about that. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 different quarterbacks have started the last 11 Super Bowls. 14. Of which Joe Flacco, Colin Kaepernick, Peyton Manning the second time, Cam Newton, Matt Ryan, Nick Foles, Jared Goff, Jimmy Garoppolo. 8 of the 14 quarterbacks you would label as average. 8 teams found a way to get to a Super Bowl with an average quarterback. Slightly above average quarterback. But not considered elite. 8 of the last 14. Now, how many of those won? Well, there's the Peyton Manning case, the second time around where Denver's defense carried him. And he posted arguably the lowest passer rating in the NFL, only behind what? Blaine Gabbert and Chad Pennington, I believe, that year. Nick Foles, backup quarterback, Cinderella story, sure. Who else? Who else on that list? Average that one. Joe Flacco? Colin Kaepernick, you could have argued, could have won a Super Bowl in that 3-year run, but he was average. It was all Jim Harbaugh. It was that defense. It was that run game. But, moving past that. What more do you want? What more do you want? And let's all acknowledge the fact that Russell Wilson did not come into the NFL as an elite quarterback day one. He had the Legion of Boom. He was very good. Again, very good. But he was by no standard, no metric elite until year 4, year 5, year 6, where he really, really started carrying Seattle. He was making plays all over the field. And why does any of that matter? Well, Jared Goff's on that list. Jared Goff is on that list of the 14 quarterbacks that have started the last 11 Super Bowls. Josh Allen hasn't been to a Super Bowl. Trevor Lawrence hasn't been to a Super Bowl. Tua Tagovailoa hasn't been to a Super Bowl. Dak Prescott hasn't been to a Super Bowl. Kirk Cousins hasn't been to a Super Bowl. Should I go on? Who else would you like me to name, huh? Justin Herbert never been to a Super Bowl. Of course, I admire the talent and the elite capabilities of a Lawrence, a Herbert, a Josh Allen, a Mahomes, a Burrow. Of course, I would love to have them on my team. I would love it. Not the reality. Not the reality at all. And last I checked, Jared Goff is 28 years old. In the prime of his career, coming off one of his best seasons statistically. You could argue the third best season of his career. Mm-hmm. In the best offensive situation he's had since year 2 McVay. In the best defensive situation he'll have since year 2 McVay, which they got to the Super Bowl. What else does Jared Goff need? What is this idea that Jared Goff can't get you anywhere? I've seen him win divisions. I've seen him get to a Super Bowl. I've seen him make plays. Did he absolutely get dominated by a Bill Belichick team in the Super Bowl? They absolutely did. Sean McVay took a ton of the blame for that as well. It wasn't just Jared Goff. He had one really bad throw when the game was really out of reach. Sure. But outside of that, I mean, come on. You look at Patrick Mahomes, the Super Bowl he won against the Niners. Jimmy Garoppolo outplayed him for 3 quarters. And in the 4th quarter, that defense in San Francisco fell apart. That 3rd and 19 where he chucked it down the field to Tyreek Hill and nobody was around him. God bless them. They won that Super Bowl to their credit. But I don't want to hear that you need an elite quarterback to get to, let alone win the Super Bowl. That's just statistically completely garbage. It's false. It's not true. So if Dan Campbell is worth his salt and is going to be one of the 7-8 best coaches in the NFL, let's say, hypothetically, then I expect this team to not only win divisions, I would make them favorites to win multiple playoff games and get to an NFC championship or 2 in the next 3-4 years. That's how talented they are. That's how young they are. And that's how much money they have to reinvest into this team that Brad Holmes has built so far. So yes, Jared Goff didn't have the best Super Bowl. I'm sorry. Todd Gurley's knees were regressing completely, falling apart. The offensive line was falling apart. His weapons were out at wide receiver. Yeah, sorry, he had a bad Super Bowl. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Jared Goff can't overcome a toxic environment, which is why he failed down the stretch with Sean McVay. Sean McVay got sick of his shit. And Jared Goff couldn't handle that. Sorry, not everybody is Peyton Manning or Andrew Luck, and they can walk into shit situations and turn it into wine.
Well,
not everybody is that.
Or Matthew Stafford, because he
to an extent
won a Super Bowl.
But that was a stacked team. Let's be real.
But I thought it was a toxic situation.
It was. Between McVay and Goff, it was a very toxic situation. McVay thought nothing of Goff. And rightfully so and wrongfully so. Mm-hmm. I don't think Goff was as bad as McVay made him out to look like. But I can also understand why McVay was getting frustrated. Goff was missing obvious throws. And it also limited the playbook. And you saw with Stafford year 1, they opened up everything. Stafford was able to compensate for an average offensive line and no run game. There you go. Super Bowl delivered. Congratulations. Everybody's happy. But the narrative that Jared Goff isn't the solution for this year, for next year, or even the 2 years after, to me is garbage. And the idea that you want to draft a quarterback at 6 this year, why? 3 quarterbacks are going to go before you get to even pick. And if NFL data suggests that 1 of the 4 quarterbacks will be elite, what are the chances that the first 3 teams that get an opportunity to swing before you are going to miss? And we all know how this is going to play out between Stroud, Young, Levis, and Richardson. 2 are going to be complete misses, 1 is going to be okay, and 1's going to be elite. The most recent example, the Trevor Lawrence draft. He was elite, Zach Wilson a complete miss, Trey Lance is a miss at the moment, but to be determined now that he's going to start. Justin Fields is average, Mac Jones is average. Congratulations, 5 quarterbacks in the first round. Where did it get you? I don't see a Burrow. I don't see a Lawrence coming out of this draft. I don't. If there was, Chicago wouldn't have traded out. So here's where I'm at this morning. And I'd like to get your thoughts when we come back from the break. Jared Goff is the solution this year. And the next. And I don't hate the idea of him being here for another 2 years after his contract ends. Because he'll only be 32 by the time that one ends. So I don't mind it. I'm not opposed to it. I can get behind the idea of supporting Goff. What you need, though, is a good offensive line. You need to protect him. He was one of the most protected quarterbacks in all of the NFL last year. The Lions gave up the fewest pressures per dropback in the NFL last year. Top 2, I believe, in terms of the fewest. Give him protection. Give him adequate weapons, a coach that believes in him, and you've seen him put together 11, 13 wins in Los Angeles. You give him a formidable defense. You saw down the stretch in Detroit, 8-2 down the stretch. Only turned the ball over once. I'm not saying he's elite, but don't tell me I need an elite quarterback to win in this NFL when Ryan Tannehill not too long ago was representing the AFC in the AFC title game against, I believe, the Bengals. And that Jimmy G wasn't in the Super Bowl not too long ago. And in the NFC Championship last year and the year prior. Save it. Save it. We'll be back. I want to hear Jeff's thoughts, and we'll get to everybody's thoughts as well. All that and more coming up next. But before we go, I got to tell you about my good friends over at Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men. Open 10 to 8, 7 days a week. Walk in anytime, no appointment necessary. Their awesome stylists will take care of you like they take care of me as always. So get to a Lady Jane's near you. Lady Jane's, it's wicked awesome.
You don't have to go to the beach, man. You don't have to get your butt crack full of sand. You just need a little chili peppers, man, to get that glowing beach chili peppers tan.
Join the Pepper Club for all the best deals in town. Plus, they will beat all competitors by $5. ChiliPeppersTanning.com. Hottest bulbs, hottest deals, darkest tans. Your vitamin D headquarters.
You just need a little chili peppers, man.
Since the dawn of moving people, Chevrolet has led the way. The world of transportation is changing. At Feldman Chevrolet, we are leading the charge forward.
For epic energy, better sleep, blow off steam? Step 2. Join Planet Fitness for just $10 a month and get moving in our clean and spacious clubs. Step 3. Bask in that post-workout glow. Join Planet Fitness today for just $10 a month.
Join today at any of the 50-plus Detroit area locations.
Now, looking at that list, though, this is what can get misconstrued, I think, at times, is when people try to use the exception as the rule, right? There's exceptions in every rule. When you look at, some of the quarterbacks that have won Super Bowls, you can bring up a Joe Flacco or a Trent Dilfer. Those are exceptions, right? Jimmy G didn't win one, but getting there, that's an exception. There's certain guys you can make a Super Bowl with. Jared Goff, he made a Super Bowl with Sean McVay in that roster. Those are exceptions. Now, of those quarterbacks that won Super Bowls, if Alex, could you pull up that list one more time? If you could. I just want to go through this list. So of all the quarterbacks you showed, we'll go through ones that have won a Super Bowl. So you got Joe Flacco, Russell Wilson, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady. We'll go Nick Foles. There's an exception. Patrick Mahomes, Matthew Stafford, and there you go. Joe Burrow, obviously Jalen Hurts. They didn't win, but they got there. So when you're looking at not just getting there, but winning a Super Bowl, Jared's gotten there. He scored 3 points. And again, it was against the Patriots, against Bill Belichick. I get all of that. And it's not even time to crap on Jared Goff. It's time to just be realistic with Jared and what the situation is. When you look at the last 4 Super Bowls, we'll just go recent history because the league's changing in front of our eyes. We'll go last year, okay? Mahomes, Jalen Hurts. We'll go the year prior of that. Stafford, Burrow. Go the year prior from that. You have
Mahomes, Brady.
Brady. So there you go. That's just the last 4 Super Bowls. The most recent quarterback of that list to make one would be Jimmy G. Right, of the mid quarterbacks, if you want to say, of that list.
Yes.
And that was with Kyle Shanahan. We know what happened with that. Okay. So I want to ask you, and I'm just genuinely asking questions because I wrote some stuff down just to note to myself. Where would Jared rank of those quarterbacks? That's the next question. I'll ask you, and people in the chat, you can feel free to chime in as well. Of this list, Alex, put up one more time for me. Where would Jared Goff rank on this list specifically of those quarterbacks that made the Super Bowl? Not right now, at the time they made the Super Bowl, right? So at
the time they made the Super Bowl, I would argue Jared Goff was better than Foles when he made the Super Bowl.
Yes.
I would argue he was better than Matt Ryan, Cam Newton.
Well, that was the MVP year.
I understand. Again, Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Kyle Shanahan as his coordinator, a lot of factors in that. Jared Goff.
Because I would say he's not.
Cam Newton's MVP season, that was a lot, but he shit the bed in the Super Bowl. So that's a tough question. How do you want me to answer that?
So
rank them in terms of what, though? Well, what am I ranking before I even answer this?
I guess as a player, like overall, like for example, we'll go through the list. Joe Flacco, I think
I'd
Jared
rather
Goff's
have Goff. I'd rather have Goff over Kaepernick.
I would agree. Now we get to Russell, Peyton, Brady, Newton, Ryan. I wouldn't say that.
Obviously Russell, obviously Peyton. I'd rather have Brady.
So how about this?
Any of the elite quarterbacks.
So confidently we could say we would take Jared Goff over Flacco, Kaepernick, Nick Foles, Jimmy G, and that's about it.
And Cam Newton.
Yeah, I think that's more debatable because that was his MVP season. Jared Goff
I don't care.
He's never
I don't
sniffed
like
an MVP.
Cam Newton at all.
That's fine. That's preference.
You could make the argument that MVP Matt Ryan was
Yes.
better than Jared Goff.
Okay, and that's fine. Some people would say Cam, you'll say Jared. He's a toss-up. I get that. So this conversation all kind of goes back to the same point I make often about Goff. It has nothing to do with Goff and what you can do with Goff, right? Because I believe, I said it, Goff can win a division. I believe he can win you a playoff game. But if we're talking big picture, when that extension comes up into play, that's really the biggest point. Because of all these quarterbacks, who would you pay $45 million to if he's asking for that specific price?
So here's
that's
the problem. Here's the problem. I can't operate that way. I'm paying him $30 million right now.
Right now,
Derek Carr just took a $35 million contract. I'm looking at Jared Goff and saying, Jared, we love you.
Mm-hmm.
We believe in you. We think we can prolong this, but we can't be paying you what Dak Prescott and all these other quarterbacks are getting. And if Jared Goff can't come to the table and take a $37 million deal, yeah, I'm out. And I'm going to move on. But I think behind closed doors, they all see this guy is more than capable. And unless we feel supremely confident in a draft prospect that we can get our hands on, we're not moving off the kid.
Right.
That would be my mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And this idea that Cam Newton was significantly better. Cam Newton in his career has never thrown for more yards in a single season than Jared Goff, ever. Well, Cam Newton has never thrown for more touchdowns outside of one season, which was his MVP season with 35, and Jared Goff threw 33.
Yes.
Or, excuse me, 32.
You're going off career. I'm talking about that MVP specific season.
That Jared Goff's best year in LA stacks up with his MVP season.
So
he got the MVP not just because of the touchdowns, but because of the rushing ability that was elite, the goal line ability. Again, Cam Newton for that single season was elite.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that, his career was average.
Okay, but that's fine. I'm not talking about the career. I'm talking about that season he made the Super Bowl, that MVP season.
Well, Joe Flacco that year had a hell of a postseason run, though, right? So
exactly.
I'm talking about the overall. I'm talking about the overall body of work for the quarterback, not that 1 year, right? Because Nick Foles went toe-to-toe with Brady in that Super Bowl, threw almost 500. They scored like almost 50 points in that Super Bowl,
but again,
right?
those are the, I would say, exceptions, right? You're not counting on Nick Foles.
But that's why I want to go over the whole body. I don't want to go what they were just that 1 year.
Yeah.
Because Jimmy G that 1 year was good, but he was also better the next year, and they got to 2 NFC championships after. So, you know, his body of work, you could argue, was better than Cam Newton's in a 4 or 5 year window.
So here's the other point that I was kind of saving, and again, it has nothing to do with what Jared Goff's making right now, because I do believe $30 million is a discount to market. I'm not going to argue that. You know, $30 million, it's too much. I'm trying to project in 2 years, because if anybody who's telling me, why are you worrying about in 2 years? You're paying him right now. Well, that's not how business works. You have to plan at least in advance. You know that contract extension is coming. You can't run away from it. In 2 years, he will be asking for an extension. And knowing Goff, I get you brought up Derek Carr, but Derek Carr was cut. He was cut. Jared Goff will not be cut. He will be a sought-after quarterback. I know Derek Carr was as well, but Goff, I believe, will be more sought-after, so he's going to want money, and rightfully so. If I'm Jared Goff, I want to get paid as well. But when he made the Super Bowl with the Rams, he was on a rookie deal. And I'm not saying rookie deals are everything.
Bullshit.
But you're going to pay a guy, I'm talking about in 2 years, because unless you're making the Super Bowl in the next 2 years, if you want Jared Goff here for a long period of time and you're paying him $40+ million, good luck. If you look at all those quarterbacks in that realm when we went through them, the guys that you'd pay $40+ million to can overcome things around him. Jared Goff, when he made the Super Bowl, had a damn good roster, and rightfully so. A lot of these quarterbacks did. I'm not saying that's wrong, but guys can overcome these things. I don't think Jared can. And again, he's good enough, but he's not elite. That's just the reality.
Well, the reality is 5 of the last 16 Super Bowl 5 of the last 16 winning Super Bowl champions have been quarterbacks that are not better than Jared Goff. 5 of the last 16 winning quarterbacks in the Super Bowl are not better than Goff.
Do you like those odds?
2015 Peyton Manning was not better than Jared Goff.
But that was also 8 years ago.
Again.
So
I said, I'm giving you a sample over almost a decade and a half, the last 16 years. I'm giving you a good body of work. And I also gave you the last 11 Super Bowls and who the starting quarterbacks were. And there were only 14. technically you have 22 starting quarterbacks. So you have a lot of repeat offenders. Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, Peyton. You have repeats
elite
there.
guys, right.
Of course. And again, the argument isn't that you wouldn't prefer an elite quarterback. But where are they? Show me. Show me where I can get my hands on one. What, a project in Anthony Richardson? Fuck out of here.
And that's, again, I want to clear that up too. Because
you show me where the elite guy is that I'm going to risk going from contender to I have no idea where I'm at. Do you want to be the Jets right now without Aaron Rodgers and how they were last year? Or would you rather be the Lions?
I would even bring up...
It's so much easier to get worse at quarterback than better.
Absolutely. I'm not going to dispute that. And I would even bring up the San Francisco 49ers as well. I mean, you draft Trey Lance. I like Trey, but we don't know what he is. And I think Jimmy G, him leaving, we'll see what happens to the 49ers. So to your point, it doesn't sometimes work out, but sometimes it does. Like it goes both ways. I'm not saying the Lions should force their hand at quarterback. I am not saying that because I think it's stupid if you sit there at 6 and you just think to yourself, I'll take whoever falls to me. If Will Levis is here, Anthony Richardson, I'm just going to take whoever's here. That is stupid. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is you have to be open-minded to the idea of eventually drafting a quarterback. And the ideology I have is I'd rather do it now or soon than wait too long and then you end up like a team or where you're forced in a situation where you have to kind of pay Goff because you don't have any other options. Unless you let Goff go, you're screwed.
Jeff.
Because if you're winning all these games you think they'll win, I agree, you'll be picking in the 20s. And unless you find a Lamar Jackson at 32, it doesn't happen very often.
Fuck Lamar. Since I've been alive, on average, now there are years where it's been more, but on average over from 2000 to 2022, there have been an average of 4 to 6 elite quarterbacks in the NFL in a given year.
Yep.
Elite. There's a handful. The other 25, 26 teams got to figure their shit out. But also there's the other handful where they're not elite, but they're pretty damn good when you give them all the right situations. Again, Jared Goff isn't Andrew Luck. He isn't prime Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Patrick. No, he's not. I don't need him to be. I don't. So why try to fix something that, one, isn't broken, and two, I haven't identified my ceiling with Jared Goff yet. If I get to an NFC championship this year, he's going to be the starting quarterback next year. And if the next year they get to a championship game again and he falls on his face again, well, clearly he's preventing this team from getting to a Super Bowl.
Look at the
but that's a different conversation to have.
But look at the situation you'd be in. Back-to-back NFC.
It's a great fucking situation.
Again, I'm not saying getting to the back-to-back title games isn't a great situation, but now you're in year 2, the last year of Jared's deal, and you have to figure it out.
And then you restructure, right? You extend him for a year or two, and Brad Holmes, in the next 2 years, is pressured to figure out who he's going to draft and trade up for to replace the guy.
So now you're working under more pressure than you were
There's always
as of right
pressure,
now.
though.
Because in 2 years, if you're like, okay, we have to draft a quarterback, you're going to settle for somebody.
Well, if you work your way and do it now, you're still under the same pressure because the second you do it, clock starts ticking. When's he going to play? When's he going to play? When's he going to play?
Well, there's two things. One, if you look at some of the better quarterbacks, and we're talking about talent. I get what you're saying about Herbert. Like, Allen hasn't won a Super Bowl, but we can agree Allen's more talented than Goff.
Allen hasn't gotten to a Super Bowl.
Right. He hasn't gotten there. So it has nothing to do with elite talent. But again, coaching, roster, all that stuff matters. Anyway, if you look at this year, next year, where the Lions will be taking one, I just don't want to wait to the last possible time to try and find a quarterback, or you're left in a situation where you have Goff, you want to extend him, or you're thinking about extending him. That's fine. I don't want to extend Goff unless he plays at an MVP level the next 2 years. I can consider it, but for the most part, you kind of know what Goff is at this point.
Josh Allen this year.
Okay, this year you're correct. But Josh Allen also had more passing yards, 800 rushing yards, 10 rushing touchdowns, more passing touchdowns.
Great. And what'd that do for them?
I'm not saying that,
and you know what the problem is with that argument? You're right. And again, I would prefer Josh Allen, but here's the reality. You need coaching. Sean McDermott is going to get fired.
Yeah, he doesn't have a run game.
By the end of the year.
Yes.
If they don't figure their shit out. If the Bills can't get to an AFC title game, and win it, McDermott's job will be on the line. That's the reality.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, you have an elite quarterback. Look at Brandon Staley. People aren't giving him excuses or time. He'll be out of town this year if they fail. If they don't make the playoffs and win a playoff game and make a run, he's out. They have an elite quarterback.
I just think I value having a good roster over.
Then you shouldn't concern yourself with anybody.
Hold on. But the reason why I say that is because with Goff, when he made a Super Bowl, I'm just working on what I know. What I know is when Goff made the Super Bowl, he was on a rookie deal. You were able to surround him with a plethora of talent, right? A run game, a good defense, a good offensive line, good coaching. Again, and that's not just Goff. There's quarterbacks that need that. That's a pretty normal thing. But what I'm trying to say is you have Amon-Ra, Penei Sewell, Kirby, Aiden, whoever it is, who you draft this year. These guys are going to come up on the books in the next couple of years. You're going to have to start thinking about an extension.
And you know what I can do?
I would much
let
rather.
them walk.
You're going to let them walk and take off?
I can let them walk. You know why? Because I have a GM that's more than capable of drafting talent. You think the Eagles are happy they lost John Hargraves? You think the Eagles are happy with losing TJ Edwards? No, the fuck they're not. But you know what they are confident in? Howie Roseman finding replacements. Look, I'm not saying I want to lose players. But the reality is when you're a good team and you got to pay a quarterback a decent amount of money and you got to pay the left tackle and you got to pay the defensive end and you got to pay all these guys and you got to pay the star receiver, you're going to lose some players. And you're going to have to rely on your GM to go find a guy in the second, third, fourth round that are going to be Pro Bowl level players.
Hold up. Run it back. Run it back. No way in hell I'm letting Penei Sewell walk.
I'm not saying you let Penei Sewell walk. You're taking it literal. I'm talking to you about every situation in the NFL.
Yes.
The Steelers during their run, the Patriots, the Chiefs now. Every team has to face the fact that they're going to lose some of their better players. They're going to. The Chiefs just lost Frank Clark. He's a free agent. Mm-hmm. They don't want to lose him, but they have to maneuver, and they have to draft well. The Eagles are doing the same. When you become a contender, you have to get comfortable with the fact that you'll probably keep Amon-Ra, you'll keep Penei, you'll re-sign Aiden, but you might lose James Houston. And you might lose C.J. Gardner-Johnson if you don't extend him. You're going to have to get comfortable with that. And the guys you draft, too. Who else do we want to use as an example here? Jameson Williams. You might have to let him walk. And then just draft a receiver in the third round. And he'll give you production. Again, you have to look at every instance and realize you can't pay everybody, including the quarterback. Everybody can't get paid.
Yes, you're correct in saying that some guys are going to have to walk, but I'm going to try and re-sign as many of them as I can. And if you're talking about letting Goff, if I'm trading Goff for these players, I'm picking these players because we saw the formula work this year. 2 guys in the NFC title game this year: Brock Purdy, Jalen Hurts.
Jeff,
rookie,
you're right.
Deals.
I agree. But you have to give me this, and I'll tell you why.
I'll take the roster over Jared Goff.
I agree. But you draft a rookie, and the rookie does well, you have to pay the rookie.
But you have a window, is what I'm saying. The Eagles have that window with Jalen Hurts.
It's temporary. Nothing in the NFL is forever.
No, I'm not saying that.
This window now with Goff is temporary. And then there's a new window with him or without him. And that one will be temporary. And at the end of the day, whether it's Goff or Caleb Williams, let's say, eventually, you're going to have to make tough decisions on players you really like that are going to have to walk.
You know what helps that decision, though? Knowing your quarterback can overcome those problems.
Like I told you, since the year 2000, on average, from 4 to 6 elite quarterbacks in the NFL at a given time. There's a handful of those guys, Jeff. I'm not going to play the game of hopeful thinking that we're gonna hit on a quarterback. We're going to hit on the 4th guy off the board. I'm not going to play that game. I'm just not. I know what I have right now. I know I'm a contender in the NFC right now. I'm going to live in the now. I'm going to plan towards the future. How can I make this roster better and better and better? Of course. I'm going to try not to overpay Jared Goff. Absolutely. Am I going to consider drafting a quarterback in the next few years? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, if you're going to be a contender in the NFL, you're going to lose your players. You think the Niners wanted to lose McLaughlin or whatever the fuck his name was to Denver?
Yeah.
They don't want to lose their right tackle.
No,
they have no choice.
I'm not saying you have to re-sign everybody, but what I am saying, if you can keep a majority of those guys and go draft a quarterback and kind of extend that window,
I'm with you.
I would agree.
I just, for this year,
Especially
I'm off
especially if you have good coaching. I think that's the big thing too. Like Kyle Shanahan can do that, obviously. If we think Dan's who he is, who we think he is.
If Sean Payton is right and Dan Campbell's the Mike Vrabel on the offensive side.
Right.
I think he has higher upside than even Vrabel. Vrabel right now kind of hit a brick wall.
He did.
It's like, wait, I need a quarterback now. I don't have one. My defense is aging. I'm losing Derrick Henry likely. Like they're going to go into rebuild. That's unfortunate. He gave you some good years, but we got to go to break. We're so over our time. God damn it.
I want to open the phone lines up if we can.
We'll try. We'll see what's going on with our audio booth this morning. But we'll take a break. When we get back, fan mock drafts. We'll continue the conversation. It'll be quick, brief, and then at 9 o'clock we'll get to Rich Eisen, and he'll share his thoughts on the Detroit Lions and why he's buying in. All that and more coming up next. But before we go, Jeff, our good friends over at Chili Peppers Tanning.
Let me tell you about them. Chili Peppers Tanning is where you'll find all the cleanest salons in the D with spotless sanitized rooms and trained and certified tanning professionals. Join the Pepper Club for all the best deals. They'll beat all competitors by $5. ChiliPeppersTanning.com. Hottest bulbs, hottest deals, darkest tans, your vitamin D headquarters, 27 locations, and more on the way.
When it comes to making your haircut truly an experience, there's no better place than Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men. Come to any one of our 26 Metro Detroit locations for an award-winning haircut experience and qualify for a chance to win a down payment for your dream home up to $200,000. Our precision haircut and talented stylists will have you looking good, feeling good, and give you a chance to change your life forever. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men, open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
The sports marketing agency would not be who we are without great community partners like Higuera Health and Carol Zaniga.
It's an awesome opportunity to partner with your organization. Higuera Health is a comprehensive behavioral health organization. We serve children through older adults with mental health, substance use, and developmental disabilities across Western Wayne counties, and really excited to now be in downriver communities as well. Give us a call at 734-458-4601.
Introducing the Planet Fitness Guide to getting that post-workout glow. Step 1. What's your why? More epic energy? Better sleep? Blow off steam? Step 2. Join Planet Fitness for just $10 a month and get moving in our clean and spacious clubs. Step 3. Bask in that post-workout glow. Join Planet Fitness today for just $10 a month.
Join today at any of the 50-plus Detroit area locations.
The only sports network in Detroit that starts with a W. Because we win. Woodward Sports, Detroit's winning sports network.
Seafood Fest is back at Big Boy. Catch it while you can. Some favorites during Lent like shrimp Alfredo, shrimp stir fry, and the new fish sandwich. Get your local Big Boy today. Don't forget the all-you-can-eat fish fry buffet on Friday nights.
All right, we are back here on the Morning Woodward Show live, woodwardsports.com. We only have a few minutes for this. I've seen a lot of fan mock drafts submitted. Not bad. Nothing's really changed. Everybody is still all in on defense with the first 3 picks. Unfortunately, I think the question I have this morning that I would like all of you in the Woodward Sports chat to answer is, I'm not going to play the what-if game here. I'm not going to say if Carter or Anderson or not, or Kansas. I don't care. But I at least want to know, any order, it doesn't matter. You don't have to tell me the pick and who. But I want positions of need that you're taking in the first round. Give me the position. I don't need the player. Just give me the position. That's what I want to know in the chat. That'll tell me a lot about where you guys are at.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jeff, I'll ask you the question while I wait for everybody in the chat to respond. But what are the 2 most important needs that must, quote, must be filled in the first round?
I would say...
No given order.
No given order. Interior defensive lineman,
Okay.
defensive line. It could be Carter or Cansey. And then the second one, you could argue, I would still say corner, because even Emmanuel Mosley, a 1-year deal, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, 1-year deal. I don't think just because you sign those guys to 1-year deals means you could just avoid a corner. So to me personally, you could say corner and defensive tackle. That would be the two.
Defensive tackle is the one I'm seeing show up a lot in the chat right now. Corner is still on that list. By the way, whoever's putting corner down, I respect the hell out of that. I respect the hell out of that opinion because, let's be real here, Emmanuel Mosley, Gardner Johnson, likely gone at the end of the year, but you do have the money to keep Gardner Johnson. Whether or not he wants to stay is a whole different conversation, but we'll see. But the idea of drafting a corner, to me, at 18 is still in play. Given he won't be expected to do much. Mosley coming off an ACL injury. You can never be too deep at the secondary position. You can onboard him similar to how Kansas City brought on McDuffie, even though he really had to take more of a role, excuse me, given the injuries that Casey had in the secondary. But I agree with defensive tackle. Corner, I'm seeing a lot of edge.
Edges.
I don't think you can go wrong with edge in the first round at all.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm not a huge fan of a wide receiver at 18, but I think you can make an argument for it. I would much rather just re-sign DJ Chark, but I saw some of the wide receiver comments. I don't hate it, but I think it's three positions defensively. We agree. Defensive tackle, corner,
mostly
and edge.
On the defense. Let me ask you this: I've seen only a few. I've seen 5 or 6 show up in the chat so far. Wide receiver, first round. You agree? I'm going to say no.
I'm going to say no, too, because I think you can find guys later in the draft. Brad kind of proved that. But, again, if you like Quentin Johnston, that's fine. Again, it makes sense. You've replaced DJ with a rookie. I just don't think Brad personally will draft another rookie
in the first round. I don't see it happening.
If
Brad Holmes has taught us anything, is he's not a fucking moron.
Yeah.
So thank you, Brad Holmes. I hope you heard that.
The needs are clearly on the defensive end. I mean, he knows that.
Skronsky or Torrance?
I'm going to be honest. I would be more on board with an offensive lineman than
over
a wide receiver.
I would agree with that take.
Because you're strengthening a strength. You're strengthening your offensive line, and it's a need. So, Tony D says, Jeff, don't you think linebacker is the focus? I do. I think linebacker is important. I just don't think in the first round you'll draft a linebacker.
I don't think there's a linebacker rated in the first round unless you can move up from 48 and go get Jack Campbell, and you want to be the team that takes him in the first round. But I don't see that happening.
If Devin Lloyd was out,
look, last year you had a few guys
that
were worthy of a first-round pick. This year it's really only Jack Campbell, in my opinion, and he'll probably go early 30s, 33 to 37 probably. Who knows? Can the Lions move up? I'd hope so. I'd love to see that happen. I agree, but in the first round, I don't think there's a linebacker worth taking at 18. It's a free gamble, guys. I wouldn't say that. It's not free at all. You're paying a lot of money. Yeah. And, again, you're banking on this kid working out and starting. You want him to have that fifth-year option. But let's take a break. When we get back, Rich Eisen on why the Detroit Lions are one of his favorites going into next season and his thoughts. We'll get to him next. I can't wait to hear that. But before we go, Jeff, our good friends over at Swiss Insurance.
Let me tell you about them, guys. Swiss Insurance. Be sure to check with them this week for your commercial insurance review. They can make sure you have the proper coverage. Swiss Insurance. Give them a shot and you won't be disappointed. Mark at SwissINS.com.
By now you know me, Christina Gennari, as the obvious choice in real estate.
Fun.
And you know my website, soldchristina.com,
the Jared
as your
Goff
number one
stuff,
resource for buying or selling your home.
That's why I
Myself,
had it
along with my amazing staff, pride
it
ourselves on making your home buying and selling experience a relaxing and easy one. Come see why we are the obvious choice. Christina Gennari at soldchristina.com, the obvious choice in real estate.
3 NBA championships. Detroit fans were there. 11 Stanley Cups. Detroit fans were there. 4 World Series wins. Detroit fans were there. And that one Lions playoff win in 1991. Yeah, Detroit fans were there. Woodward Sports, where the fans are.
All right, we're back here on the Morning Woodward Show live, woodwardsports.com. JB out today, unfortunately. Flannel Sam. They're all down at Big Boy Ice Arena out in Utica for the Big D Energy Show today. It's going to be fun. Darren McCarty will be doing a post-show ice skating session with everybody that shows up. So if you're off of work today or looking to have some fun with the kids, take them down to the Big Boy Ice Arena, meet Darren McCarty. It's a little meet and greet session we got going on.
Uncle D-Mac.
Public invited, so you guys head down there, have a good time, and skate with D-Mac. Try not to punch him because he'll probably knock you out.
GR Adams says, why does Jeff look like Wolverine today? Well, my hair is
You do
in the
look like
process
Wolverine.
But
you're missing the facial hair, man.
Well,
can you just grow it and never touch it, please?
That's your thing.
No. It's not my thing. I don't like looking like a grizzly bear at all.
By the way, the process of getting back to where my hair was, it's a very ugly process, but I'm here for it, honestly. It is what it is. Rome wasn't built in a day, am I right? Come on.
Yeah, what are you going to do? Trade Okuda. Oh, God, you guys are funny.
Trade
All right,
Okuda.
look, I want to play about 2 minutes of this Rich Eisen conversation. Rich Eisen yesterday on his show talking about the Detroit Lions, why he's falling in love with it. Actually, we'll play about 3 minutes of it, and then Jeff and I will share our thoughts on what Rich Eisen had to say. Here it is.
The bandwagon is starting to fill, right? The Honolulu Blue bandwagon. Say that 10 times fast.
Big time. Lions
why not?
favored to win the division.
Why not? They played the best football in that division last 6 weeks of 2022. I don't think I'm telling any tales out of school. That the Vikings, you could say, and thanks for the call, Mark. I appreciate it. Not to have you hang on and listen to me prattle on here, but look it up. You got the Google there in front of you. The Vikings record after the Munich game. And the reason why I say the Munich game, they weren't in it, but I was in Germany, and that's where, after calling Bucks versus Seahawks, we watched all of the games in a makeshift viewing room in a conference room in our hotel in downtown Munich.
What week was that?
It was, and the reason why I bring it up is that's where I saw the remarkable Justin Jefferson one-handed grab against Buffalo.
Oh,
that game.
Yeah. So that was week 10.
After week 10, what did Minnesota finish? Like 3-3, 4-3, or something like that?
No, 5-3. 5-3.
What did Detroit finish in their last 8?
Let's see.
They might have been 5-3 too.
Detroit in their last 8, 6. Well, no, they won 3. They were 8-2
in their last 10.
In their last 10.
What about their last 8?
I'm
just trying to figure this out.
6-2. They were 2-6.
Brother, they played the best football in that division to wrap things up.
They were 1-6.
As we all know, the Bears didn't win after starting 2-1. That's why they were drafting first overall.
Yeah, the Lions were 1-6.
And they have made some moves. Boy, do I like them. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, you bring him in. David Montgomery is going to have to come up with enough touchdowns to supplant Jamal Williams' 17. But a lot of those were like on the 2-yard line. I mean, David Montgomery could score from there too.
If you subscribe to the anybody can score inside the 5, then Montgomery will put up very similar numbers to what Jamal Williams did.
I like him.
I think you're not.
Am I going to do it? Am I going to do it? Should I do it now?
You're not going to.
Should I do it now?
They're the betting favorite, so it's not a limb that you're going out on. But
the Detroit Lions are currently the betting favorites to win the NFC North.
Correct.
That's what Rich Eisen had to say on his show yesterday. And look.
Welcome, Rich.
Did you hear anything wrong?
No.
Again, I don't want to sit up here and blow smoke up your asses, Detroit. I don't. But the reality is you have a very talented football team. You got significantly better in the secondary. You got better at running back. You have the 6th overall pick, the 18th, 48, and 55 in the NFL draft in the first 2 rounds. You are going to have a much better football team this year. Oh, and Jared Goff is looking like the number 1 overall pick, Jared Goff, early LA days. Yeah, I think people should sign up and get on the bandwagon, Jeff. I don't blame Rich Eisen at all. Spot on.
Yeah, him talking about that division, that's kind of one of the points you've been echoing for months. Their record in the division, if you're 5-1 in a year where you start 1-6, they could have been 6-0. That Minnesota game was theirs to lose on the road, or to win, on the road. So, again, Rich, welcome to the dark side. I saw a comment, too. This made me laugh.
What was it?
It was from Thomas Perry. I just learned nothing on WoodwardSports.com. And it's not a diss at Rich, but this is stuff we've known. We've been talking about. The fact that national media is now coming along.
Well,
and
everyone's going to pick up on it. Kay Adams, I saw yesterday on social media, giving a lot of love to the Detroit Lions.
Although I like it and I appreciate it because Detroit, as we know, it's the saying, Detroit versus everybody. Now you're getting love from all over the U.S. I want to get to the point, Adam, where the Lions aren't talked about. They're just there. you know what the lines are. There's not a little brother feeling to it, right?
Well,
There's just, like, you don't hear them talking about some of the better organizations. So I want to get to that point, but I love it. This is a great start.
I don't want to bring back up Jared Goff, but this is why I'm so passionate about the conversation. Brad Holmes can do all the right things and be, let's say, compare him to Joe Douglas and draft an amazing defense and revamp the offense. But then they're average and below average at quarterback, and it ruins everything. I'm not in a rush to take a chance on one of these, quote, project quarterbacks, unless Brad Holmes is completely in love with one and makes the move for him.
I agree.
I don't think this is the year. I just don't. But to Rich Eisen's point, whether him, Peter Schrager, Kay Adams, all falling in love with the Lions, even,
Kyle?
No, Colin Coward's co-host.
Oh,
Mac. J-Mac.
Yeah, J-Mac, yeah.
I forget his full name, though.
The Jets. He's a Jets fan. He's usually pretty tight about things.
Loves what Detroit's got going. And again, forget what Detroit is doing. Look, Chicago, tough to really take them serious with what they've done. I'm not overly impressed. Wow. You went and paid almost $100 million for 2 linebackers. Last I checked, in the order of most important positions in the NFL right now, it would go quarterback, offensive/defensive lineman, wide receiver, cornerback, safety, linebacker. And you could flip safety and linebacker if you wanted. It's down there on the pecking order. And you spent all your money down there instead of linemen, instead of wide receiver, instead of everything else. I'm not in love with the Bears. The Packers, good luck. Good luck. And then the Vikings. I like Kevin O'Connell a lot. I like Matt LaFleur. But there are limitations with what they're building. If Matt LaFleur couldn't win with an, quote, elite quarterback in Aaron Rodgers for 3 years, winning 13 games every year, what the hell are you supposed to do? Huh? The NFL's hard, man. Enjoy being good. You think Bills fans are very frustrated at the moment that they haven't been to a Super Bowl yet with Josh Allen? Of course they are. Are they very happy and grateful, though, that they get to watch a really good product every year and compete and win the division every year? Yeah, it's much better than being the team that almost lost 27 out of, 28 games against the Patriots in a 14-year stretch. Okay? Jesus. That division is weak. And yes, it has a little bit of upside. But I'm not staring at the Niners or the Eagles in my division right now. I have the best quarterback in the division. I have the best offensive line in the division. I respect the Green Bay defense, so I'm going to say I have the second best defense in the division.
But you're closer than you were last year.
I think you're much closer now. And honestly, after all these secondary acquisitions, you could argue you're better than Green Bay. But again, I want to see it proven on the field. We'll see what they do in the draft. I'll probably be more
optimistic.
I'll just be more obliged to actually say it after the draft, likely, if they draft who I expect them to draft. But at the end of the day, I'm on board, man. Sign me up. And again, my favorite person typically has most of the right things to say. But for example, winning divisions is overrated, Brandon, since only one team gets a bye. That's not true. It's not true at all. Hosting a playoff game is not overrated. Your chances of winning are much higher than losing.
And if you go off the Lions,
and if you look
their
at the
record at home this year.
Last year,
it's
who were in the NFC and AFC championship games. Division-winning Cincinnati, division-winning Kansas City, division-winning Niners, division-winning Eagles. Go to the year prior. The division-winning Bengals, the division-winning Bills, I believe, the division-winning Rams, and the second-place team in that division, the Niners.
It matters.
Winning the division matters. Hosting home playoff games matters. Does the bye week matter? That's a different argument. But don't tell me winning divisions doesn't matter when this fucking franchise hasn't won one in 30 years. How about every single one of you in the chat, by the way, this morning, at home, listening, watching. I don't care what you're doing. You're at work. If you're at work and there's public and there's kids around, make sure you lower your fucking volume right now because it's going to get really nasty. If you think for a minute that winning the division doesn't matter when this franchise has failed to deliver one in 3 fucking decades, when this franchise hasn't delivered a playoff win in 3 fucking decades, you want to sit here and tell me division wins don't matter when your chances of winning a home playoff game are much higher than they are on the road? Suck my fucking dick this morning. Every single one of you. Good? Great. We got to go to break.
Well, if you want to go off the NFC North, too, if you won the division last year, Adam, you'd be facing the Giants for the first game. So you don't get a bye, but if you want a playoff win, there's a way to do it.
You win a playoff game this year, you're probably playing the Saints, Dallas, you're playing the Commanders. I don't know who you're playing this
Regardless,
year. You go off of last year, you would have made the playoffs and won your division, you would have gotten the Giants. You whooped the Giants' ass in wherever the hell, MetLife Stadium.
Right. Instead of Seattle playing the 49ers. It's two different things.
The 49ers, dude. It's the 49ers.
Yeah.
Tough luck. Tough luck. We'll take a break. When we get back, Cam Newton's hype video. For all of you that have ever applied for a job, this is how not to get a job. And we'll go through that next, and then we'll get to Lamar Jackson and so much more. But before we go, I got to tell you about my good friends over at Planet Fitness. Sign up today, $10 a month. It's easy to start, guys. What are you waiting for? Go to a local Planet Fitness near you or sign up at planetfitness.com. Your fitness is essential. Take advantage of all the perks. It's a judgment-free zone, unless I'm there, of course. Enjoy yourselves. Get yourselves in shape. Take care of your body. And start 2023 on the right note. It's already, what are we, in March? Get your shit together, all right? I know all of you talked about your New Year's resolutions. Your fat asses are still on the couch. Go to the gym. Take care of it.
Wow.
Sign up with Planet Fitness. You're welcome. Goodbye.
At work and at home, we're there with smarter security solutions. Featuring complete automation with customized alerts and more. For over 90 years, we've been the company that's been counted on to protect what matters most, all with personalized service and care. Right now, for a limited time, receive a free video device plus free installation with a new home system. Guardian Alarm. We protect Michigan.
We don't like to brag that we are the toughest sports network in Detroit, but we do have a guy named Darren McCarty on our side.
Lemieux and McCarty, who've had a good knockdown drag up. There they go, right on the whistle. Baby, talking to one another.
Woodward Sports.
All right, we're back here on the Morning Woodward Show live, woodwardsports.com. Adham, Beydoun, Jeff, Iafrate. All right. You can't keep offering yourself to people like that every day, bro. They're going to send you to ethics class. I don't know if that's to me or you, Jeff. You trying to sell yourself? What's wrong with you? You being a whore?
I guess so.
What's wrong with you?
Shame on me.
Keep it in your pants. All right, look, I only want to spend a few minutes on Cam Newton. But this is exactly why he will never get a job in the NFL. And this is how you don't get employed, by the way. You put out a hype video saying, there ain't 32 motherfuckers better than me. And then on your first fucking pass of the highlight video, you throw it behind the wide receiver. How not to get a job 101, watch the Cam Newton video. That's why he's not in the NFL. Fucking idiot.
Well, the problem, too, with Cam, Cam hasn't won a game since 2020, and he hasn't thrown for over 2,700 yards since 2018. So, again, I'm more high on Cam than you, just in general, because that's your opinion. But if we're both being realistic, can Cam be a backup in the league right now?
Sure.
Probably.
Does he want to be? Different conversation. I would argue no, because he's a self-serving, narcissistic bitch who has zero leadership skills, which is why after the Super Bowl, when he let his defense down and couldn't beat a Peyton Manning with a neck that wasn't even working at the time, When he let his team down, he couldn't even stand up in the podium after he walked away. And like his career, when he walked away, it all went down afterwards. What do you know?
Well, the problem
I have no will or interest in bringing that fuckhead to my locker room.
Wow. And the problem also with that is if you sign Cam Newton to be your backup, number one, usually typically backups you're not too concerned about regardless. I mean, you're bringing in, we brought in Nate Sudfeld. They got to upgrade that backup position. But just going around the league, to have a guy like Cam Newton, that polarizing type of personality as a backup, people or teams and GMs look at that as kind of a distraction as well. Like you have Cam Newton you're building. A lot of attention, media attention is going to be focused on Cam Newton when it shouldn't be. So I can see why teams would avoid him.
I don't want to talk about my backup quarterback.
Right.
I don't.
Yeah.
I didn't know who Brock Purdy was until I had to know who he was. That's how I want it. I don't want to know who anybody is. I don't want to know who my backup is.
So I don't think it has anything to do, like, is Cam better than Nate Sudfeld? Yes. But do you want to? Yeah, come on.
Oh, come on. You're being generous.
Nate
Sudfeld? This is the best comment I've seen all day. Mr. Ray. He's the Russell Westbrook of the NFL.
Oh, my gosh.
Absolutely.
Well, at least Russell has a job. I mean, that's the difference. But you're right. I mean,
when you play the quarterback
he's
position,
better than
I'm
Nate
sorry,
Sudfeld,
whether you like it or not. When you play the quarterback position, you sign up to be the leader of the team, the CEO, the guy who takes responsibility for everything. That's a child. That's not an adult. 32 motherfuckers. Shut the fuck up, man. And then on the first highlight, you throw behind the wide receiver.
Okay.
Who edited your video?
I'm going to be honest.
At least edit the video and make it seem like you know what the hell you're doing. And by the way, that slant route that you threw in the end zone, you didn't even throw it correctly, you jackass.
That was the first thing I noticed too. I wasn't gonna bring it up, but the ball that was behind the wide receiver, the guy had to go up and.
Who edits his videos?
Yeah, well, okay, yeah, that's the problem too. Cam, we'll settle it here. I think he's better than most backups in the league. You disagree, and that's okay.
That's great.
But the reality is, which franchise is going to sign him to be a backup?
Nobody.
I don't think too many.
Nobody.
Yeah, I don't think
nobody
any.
with a brain. Just like nobody would sign Colin Kaepernick
to bring in that type of polarizing personality. That's a lot.
Whether you like it or not. When you're the CEO, nobody wants you running around there like Tom Cruise doing a bunch of cocaine and being the center of attention. Nobody wants to know who the CEO is. We just want to make sure it's all working.
Cobezilla says on WoodwardSports.com, there obviously are 32 quarterbacks that are better than he is since he's not even a backup now. Joke's on him.
Yeah, real talk.
Well, Davis Mills started last year, so...
Okay. Let's move on. Let's move on, okay? Lamar Jackson. I want to get to Mel Kiper's mock draft next, so we'll move Lamar Jackson up a little bit. Lamar Jackson. Jeff, this is your guy. Again, you're very fond of him. I don't disagree with a lot of the points you make about him. I think he is a good quarterback. I wouldn't pay him what he wants, just like I wouldn't have paid Dak or I wouldn't pay Kirk. But again, the market is the market. Is Baltimore making the wrong decision here? Dan Orlovsky actually came out yesterday, and I think the number was 1,000 hits for the Baltimore Ravens, only to make $32 million, something along those lines, whatever. And the point Dan was making was, what message are you sending by not re-signing him? And I think that's the problem we have here is it's either re-sign him or don't, and there's got to be some middle ground here. Like, I'll re-sign Lamar, but he's going to sign a contract that's much more friendly to me.
Right.
I'll give him guaranteed. But it's not going to be Deshaun Watson money, Deshaun guaranteed, let alone north of 42, 43 million. Like, it's just not.
And I think the reality
I'll give you 4 years, 170, and I'll give you about 130 of it guaranteed. And that's it. I'm not giving you more than that.
Well, the reality is, too, Lamar, I think, is self-aware enough to know the play style he plays with. You want to get paid, guaranteed money. I'm not that stupid. We understand that. If he keeps doing what he's doing, you can't have a career length of an Aaron Rodgers or a Tom Brady. That's obvious. But the point I always make about Lamar is I do believe he's extremely dynamic. Obviously, a unanimous MVP. I've went through all of that. But the reality is, if you're the Ravens, for looking at it from both perspectives, it's hard because I understand both sides of it. I do. And that's coming from someone who does support Lamar. Not that I want him on the Lions. Don't get me wrong. But I support Lamar. the Ravens' point of view, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. And that goes for both, Lamar as well. If you're going to ask for too much money, you're going to find out. And you're most likely, and it's looking like this is more likely the option, is you're going to go to another team. It's already been reported his agent, and by the way, it's not his agent, it's his representative, because Lamar technically is his own agent, telling other teams that he would like to leave the Ravens. So he's going to get money. He's going to get paid. It just won't be with the Ravens. And again, I don't blame the Ravens as long as they have they figure it out at the quarterback position, because this sets them back if they don't find an immediate replacement. So it's a, shrewd business move, a tough business move on the Ravens' part, being confident enough to let Lamar go, someone who's has a career record. It's like a 60% winning percentage when he plays in the regular season, which is fine. But the Ravens are going to have to figure that out. Lamar will get paid. I do believe it. Now, will he get paid what he's asking for? I don't think so. I think he's asking for an insane amount of money. And on top of that, teams are going to have to give up, 2 first-round picks to get him? It's a lot for any team to give up.
Since he became the full-time starter in 2019, since he became the full-time starter, the Baltimore Ravens defense has given up 17.6 points a game in 2019, 18.9 points per game in 2020, 23.5 points per game in 21, and then last year they gave up 18.5 points a game. Mm-hmm. He's had elite defenses.
Right.
Every year he's been a starter in the NFL. He's had an amazing situation. Have the wide receivers been the best? No, they haven't. But that's not what they do. They're a control the clock, run the football offense. So this idea that he should be paid like a Mahomes or Burrow or Josh Allen
when he's not going to be asked,
when he doesn't throw the ball like them,
right,
to me is ludicrous. And if I were Lamar, I would cash in on my ability, and I would take a 4-year 170, 180, and I would take as much guaranteed as I could get. But the reality is, unless Lamar is capable of really developing as a passer in the NFL, which I never think he will be in terms of the elites. Mm-hmm. He'll always be a good passer. Don't get me wrong. He can throw the ball.
But his elusiveness.
But he is not.
It's everything.
It's all athleticism running first with Lamar. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the problem that the Ravens are running into. And they see what I see. I see a top 5 defense for the last 4 years in Baltimore. Top 5, nobody talks about it. I see John Harbaugh as the head coach of that football team. Top 7 coach in the NFL. Nobody talks about it. All we talk about is that he has no wide receivers except Mark Andrews and a deep backfield that they're able to run basically 30, 40, 50 times a game with. And then when he goes, 12 of 18 for 200 yards and 4 touchdowns, everybody's like, oh, not bad for a running back. It's all a joke to me. It's all a joke. To me, Lamar is special in certain ways, but what happens when he loses that step and NFL teams catch up to him? Then what? I need a quarterback first, not a running back playing quarterback who plays it very well, by the way. But there's a big difference, man.
And the Ravens are saying that to your face. They had no problem extending Roquan Smith. They didn't have too many issues extending Roquan, so clearly they know the identity
because they know
of their
they need to support Lamar Jackson with a top defense.
Well, or there's nothing wrong with that.
And the idea that he's an elite passer. Who said it, by the way? Just so I can call you out real quickly, you dumb motherfucker. Who was it? Let's see. Who said garbage take? Where is it? Lamar's one of the most efficient passers in the NFL. BS take. Just because he's a runner, he can't possibly be a good passer. Daryl McGaughy, I don't fucking know your name, you fucking retard. Here's the facts. The facts are he's thrown 58%, 66, which was a career high his second year, which was his MVP year, and then 64, and last year 62%. He's got a career 63. That is not fucking elite.
Yeah, elite,
by any standard.
Elite is a stretch.
I don't want to hear it. Ever since his MVP season, he's thrown more interceptions per pass every single year, more and more year over year. He's turning the ball over more than ever. He's throwing at a less completion percentage rate. I don't want to hear it. And he's never thrown for 3,000 yards outside of his MVP season. And it was 3,100.
And the problem is
he can't even scratch 35.
The problem is, as much credit as he deserves for being an unanimous MVP and winning it, he wants to be paid off that season 2 years later. And that's also the problem. Missing games the last 2 seasons. It's tough.
I like Lamar. It's nothing against Lamar.
But he doesn't.
If I had him on my team, I would be very happy to have him because I know I can win with him. But the reality is, just like Goff, there's a certain number that you're willing to pay and unwilling to pay. Lamar thinks he's in the echelon of Josh Allen, Mahomes, and Burrow. He's not. I don't care that he won an MVP. He's not. And when Lamar Jackson, one day, which will come, whether 2 years from now or 4, will not be able to run the ball 12 times a game. And when that day comes, you have a quarterback that you're paying north of $40 million a year who can't throw the ball like some of the 5, 6, 7, 8 best quarterbacks in the NFL. Congratulations. Jared Goff is a better passer than Lamar Jackson. That's not hyperbole. That's just a fact. So take that garbage and shove it up your asses this morning.
Before we go to break, I just want to answer this question because Dante, I already kind of cleared this up, but Dante asked, so Jeff, why in the hell do you think Lamar Jackson is better than Jared Goff? I think Lamar Jackson's a better player. Now, if you want to talk about, well, Jared Goff is a better passer, that's fine, but I think, and I still think, and I will always think, that Lamar Jackson is a better, more dynamic player. Of
course he is.
So that's the argument I'm making, taking into account
is
what
he better
Lamar
than Dak?
brings you in. Dak,
is he better than Dak?
Yes.
Lamar?
Yeah,
absolutely. Is he better than Kirk?
Yes.
Better than Tannehill?
Yes.
I mean, what are we arguing, right?
Again,
So,
it's not, and that doesn't, people act like if I say that he's better than Goff, I'm saying Goff is like the worst quarterback on planet Earth. That's not what I'm saying. Just, I mean, I'll take a guy who's won an MVP, who's been, check his regular season wins. He wins games. When you have Lamar in the lineup in the regular season, he wins games. Now, postseason, we can get to it. But still, the point I'm making is he's a better overall player than Jared Goff. It's just a fact. With what he brings, with his legs, and talking about his MVP season, what he's capable of, it's impressive. But it doesn't mean that Jared Goff is some scrub. So I just wanted to clear that up. Christian Smith says Lamar is a top 5 QB. I mean, you couldn't make that argument. I don't know if I would agree with that argument because you got, at that point, Mahomes, Burrow. I mean, even if you get to Allen, Herbert, Lawrence, I don't think he's top 5. And then that's me defending Lamar. I don't think he's top 5. He's top 10, but not top 5. Andrew says, Jared is better for all current offense. Why change what we had? But Lamar's a beast and would love to have him. Andrew, you're spot on. And that's the point I'm making. I love Lamar. Now, do I want to trade for Lamar and pay him? Hell no. I never said that once. Never said that. But I think Lamar's better. I just wouldn't go pay $50 million plus guaranteed and trade 2 first-round picks. To me, that's idiotic. Soft Jones says, Goff can spin it. Confidence matters, and he just got it back. Lamar is next-level talent. Tough call. I want to see this team keep building with some core guys, but Lamar would be nuts to have.
I'm game.
Spot on.
I'm game. Let's take a break. When we get back, we'll continue the conversation. Mel Kiper's mock draft coming up next. But before we go, I got to tell you about my good friends over at Cousins Maine Lobster. If you spill coffee like me this morning, you're kind of going to be a little hungry, right? Because usually coffee fills up my stomach. So scan the QR code, cousinsmainelobster.com. Find out where their food trucks are and treat yourself to an awesome lunch. Lobster tacos, clam chowder soup. That's my go-to. You thank me later. Cousins Maine Lobster. Let them know I sent you.
Saturdays at 1 p.m. Make sure you're watching WoodwardSports.com for our new show, Chompin' Puck.
He shoots! He scores!
With 4-time Stanley Cup champion Darren McCarty and Michael Gentry, Chompin' Puck is taking the Detroit hockey community and giving them a voice. Pros to Joes. You'll get the best Detroit hockey coverage around. Chompin' Puck. Saturdays 1 p.m. on WoodwardSports.com.
You're about to be shell-shocked. The catch of the day is in. Big Boy Seafood Fest is officially back. Join us for some of your favorites like our popcorn shrimp and pike perch platters and our classic fish and chips. This year, we've reeled in some fresh catches like our shrimp Alfredo, shrimp stir-fry, and our fish sandwich. And especially, don't forget about our all-you-can-eat Friday night fish fry buffet. Every day is a fish fry at Big Boy.
My name is Lee. I've lost 35 pounds on the Custom Health Center program. So the 3 biggest benefits that I've gotten from this program has been I'm not snoring anymore, I have a lot of energy, it's great, and oh, by the way, look at this. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding.
Call us at 844-789-THIN or visit CustomHealthCenters.com for a free consultation and get started for as little as $5 a day.
Woodward Avenue, the first paved road in America. Woodward Sports, the first sports network born in Detroit and made for Detroit.
We are back here on the Morning Woodward Show live, woodwardsports.com. Adham, Beydoun, Jeff, Iafrate as always. Missing the show live, you can always download the podcast after the fact, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Make sure you leave Jeff and I a 5-star review for his sexy-ass hair.
Yeah,
but here we are
right now.
Coming off the Lamar Goff conversation. It's been a fun show so far, but Mel Kiper.
Jeez.
Typically don't do this anymore because, well, Mel is interesting. But Mel Kiper has the Detroit Lions taking Jalen Carter and Michael Mayer. And
I sent Alex the explanations if you want to read them.
You can throw them up. Be my guest. You know, let's read them. Let's see what Kiper's reasoning behind this is. Let's start with Carter. Detroit added veteran corners Cameron Sutton, Emmanuel Mosley, and a versatile defensive back C.J. Gardner-Johnson in free agency, which likely signals it's going to be pass on the top corners with this pick. But did you watch the defense last season? It ranked bottom of the league in most statistical categories, including yards per play allowed, 6.2. The Lions have to keep trying to fix it. The easiest way to do that, take Carter, who has had a troubled few months. Last week pleaded no contest. This is all garbage to me. Detroit, which owns the 18th overall pick, drafted Aiden Hutchinson, number 2 overall last year, and got 9.5 sacks out of him. Carter would be a nice compliment to Hutchinson's skill set.
I mean, to Mel's point, I mean, you know what Nick Fairley did with Sue. Like, those two, what Jalen Carter would do for Hutchinson and what Hutchinson would do for Jalen Carter, that he's not lying. So I'm not mad at Jalen Carter at 6. I'm not.
Okay, and then let's go to Michael Mayer. Again, I'm not going to disagree with the idea of an interior defensive lineman.
Now we're pissed. Okay.
I got the Lions' help along the defensive line at 6, and I wouldn't be surprised if they double-dipped here with another pick on defense. That unit was bad last season. Instead, let's pivot to the other side of the ball. They traded away Hawkinson with Brock Wright, James Mitchell, and Shane Zylstra, each catching at least 11 passes, all 3 under contract for 2023. But shouldn't Detroit try to upgrade? Maybe Mayer, is the most complete tight end in this class. He's physical and can run block, and he can run seam routes and get open for quarterback Jared Goff. He got 67 passes for 809 yards and 9 touchdowns last season and had 180 catches in his college career. He could be that lead guy for Detroit. Jeff, you can take this one.
All right, Alex, put the camera on me. Mel Kiper, listen.
Oh, God, he's standing up.
Mel Kiper. And he wouldn't know this because you don't watch any Lions games. Adam, can you answer this question for me?
Yep.
How often does this Lions offense depend on a tight end? I'm curious.
Very, very...
I'm curious.
Very rarely. In the red zone last year, it seemed to work very well down the stretch.
Oh, it did? With those 3 guys he just listed.
Because they were the 5th options on certain some of those plays.
So what happened with Jared Goff when you had T.J. Hawkinson?
He couldn't stop throwing interceptions.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so Mel Kiper, I would have been less frustrated if it was a wide receiver. I would have been cool with it. The fact that it's a tight end means you have no idea how this Lions offense is constructed. They don't utilize their tight ends much. Drafting a tight end, I'm not mad at drafting a tight end at all in the draft, but in the first round at 18, that is idiotic. And it honestly, looking at this offense and how much better Jared got with the rest of the offense after T.J. Hawkinson, and listen, we can say whatever you want about Hawkinson. He's a top 6, top 7 tight end.
That's not saying much, but yeah.
But again, I'm just saying, he left, your offense got better. That proves the point. Ben Johnson, Jared Goff, they don't need a tight end to operate. I get what he's trying to say. They need a tight end. No, they don't. You'll be fine. You could draft one late in the draft. He can come in and maybe catch what Zylstra was catching. So I hate it. I don't understand it. Drafting a tight end in the first round, I absolutely hate it. And yeah, there's so many other positions I would rather prefer. Wide receiver, offensive line. So Mel Kiper, big F for me. But I like the Jalen Carter pick, though. Michael Mayer, it's awful.
Yeah, the Michael Mayer pick to me is a disaster. Goff threw 1 interception post-trading T.J. Hawkinson, where they finished the season 8-2 in those 10 games.
It's like that's the offense.
This is the offense. It's it's constructed not to worry or focus on a single player. I think that's what makes it special. I'll pass on drafting a tight end in the first round.
I would rather have Penei Sewell just line his ass up at tight end in the red zone.
Yeah, I'm with you.
We'll just throw to him.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Like, I'm not
a fan of it.
Michael Mayer?
It's a joke.
Yeah, no.
It's a complete joke. Daniel Jeremiah does a much better job Let's see his mock draft, actually, since you guys want to bring it up. His latest mock draft is where? 3.0. That's with Bucky Brooks, isn't it? No. Let's see. He's got the Lions taking Devon Witherspoon 6th overall. And then at 18, Kalijah Kancey. If you flipped, that would make more sense to me.
What was it? I'm sorry, Kancey with 18?
Kancey at 18, Devon Witherspoon at 6. See, I don't think they go corner at 6. I think they go interior lineman. You're not going to wait till 18 for Kancey, in my opinion, if Carter and Anderson are off the board. Now, do they go Tyree Wilson instead of Kancey at 6? Maybe. That's very much an option. But to me, the interior line is the most important thing at the moment. They have to address it. Sign me up. It's not even a conversation. Kalijah not rated high enough to be selected at 6. See, Brent, that's unfortunately the misconception going on here. If you remove non-quarterbacks from play and you remove this mental block that all of you have with Kalijah Kancey, the reality is he's the 9th rated prospect in the NFL draft coming up. 9th rated. Mm-hmm. So it's offensive to take the 9th rated player 6th overall? Wait, I have an even better one for you, because that 9th rated player is ranked behind Devon Witherspoon and Christian Gonzalez, which I don't agree with, and we all know the Lions aren't taking a corner at 6. So if you remove those two, he's the 7th rated prospect coming out, only behind Jalen Carter, Will Anderson, Tyree Wilson, Peter Skronsky.
Yeah.
I'm missing a few more players.
But that's the gist. Tyree Wilson, I mean, there's a lot of guys.
But you know Anderson and Carter, let's say, are off the board. So it's Tyree Wilson, an offensive lineman, and then Kalijah Kancey. You're not drafting a corner, so eliminate Gonzalez and Witherspoon. Yep. So it's offensive. It's a reach to take Kancey, who's the 7th rated overall prospect in the draft. If you remove quarterbacks, it's a reach to take him at 6. I don't buy that. I just don't. Cornerback at 6 is ridiculous. I don't agree with Daniel Jeremiah on that.
I just don't think there's a corner this year that you would go and take at 6. There's some of the best corners, right? Witherspoon, Gonzalez, but it's not like last year with Stingley and Sauce Gardner. I think those two are better than the first 2 corners coming out. That's my opinion. Wouldn't take one at 6. I think you'd much rather, trade up from 18, maybe take a Joey Porter, rather than taking one at 6. So, and I agree with the whole Kancey thing, by the way. And I know people, I hear that all the time. 6 is a reach for Kancey. Okay, if you're going to say that, what isn't a reach? Where would you take Kancey?
This is the truth.
Because I'm curious.
Let's just go by defensive players in the NFL draft. Will Anderson is the highest rated defensive player. 2nd on that list is Jalen Carter.
Yes.
3rd is Tyree Wilson. 4th is Devon Witherspoon. 5th is Christian Gonzalez. 6th is Kalijah Kancey. Kalijah Kancey is the 6th highest rated defensive player coming out. If you eliminate the 2 corners, he becomes the 4th highest rated defensive player coming out.
But let's be real. After Will Anderson and Jalen Carter, I think everybody else is pretty much debatable, in my opinion. I think Will Anderson and Jalen Carter...
I think Tyree Wilson is an interesting prospect, just like I think
there's just
Kalijah Kancey is very interesting.
I think there's health concerns with Tyree Wilson, but as a specimen, you're correct. But to me personally, besides Will Anderson and Jalen Carter, if you told me I like Gonzalez over Wilson or anybody else, okay, that's fine. But if you told me Kancey, I'm not going to be like, oh, that's a reach. To me, at least. And if you're not going to take him at 6 and you'd rather take him at 11 like I did in my mock draft, it's 5 spots. And if you can't trade out, what are you going to do? You're going to settle for a corner because you don't think you can take Kancey that high?
Zero chance they take a corner. So, 0 chance.
That's the ideology.
Why not trade back if there's no one at 6? Because Hunter, it doesn't work. This isn't Madden. The Atlanta Falcons went and got a quarterback. The Raiders got a quarterback. The Panthers traded up to number 1 overall. The Eagles don't need to trade up. Who's going to trade up with you?
It takes two to tango.
You're not moving off the pick.
Yeah.
You're just not.
It's not PFF
unless
mock
it's
draft.
Tennessee at 11. That's the only one.
And I would do that. Because if a quarterback's there and Tennessee wants to trade up...
But you know me, I disagreed with your mock. Because to me, if I'm moving out of that pick, I want a future one.
You might be able to get it. If there's a quarterback, a team will be willing to pay.
That's the only way somebody's trading up.
If Tennessee, I believe, would give you a first to try and get their guy. So you never know.
All right. Here's what we're going to do. We'll take a break. When we get back, we'll wrap up the show with 2 more things. And then we will get to Mailbag at 9:50. So we'll return, have a continued conversation about prospects in the NFL draft, what it means for the Lions, all that and more coming up. But before we go, Jeff, our good friends over at the Sports Marketing Agency.
Let me tell you about them. SMA, the Sports Marketing Agency, helps spread awareness about mental health and substance abuse. They got a new podcast. This is the S Word. Helps fight the stigma about seeking help. If you or someone you know is struggling, head to thesportsma.com for more information.
Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on Shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Beverly Hills Golf, Woodward Golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
Introducing the Planet Fitness Guide to getting that post-workout glow. Step 1. What's your why? More epic energy? Better sleep? Blow off steam? Step 2. Join Planet Fitness for just $10 a month and get moving in our clean and spacious clubs. Step 3. Bask in that post-workout glow. Join Planet Fitness today for just $10 a month.
Join today at any of the 50-plus Detroit area locations.
Make sure it's seen and heard. Corner, jumper, tweet us, hop on the YouTube chat, slide in the DMS at Woodward Sports on all social media.
Let me tell you about our friends over at the Fulling Warehouse in Hamtramck, because it is the home of the original football bowling game. 2 to play for $12, the unlimited open play, or you could pay $120 for lane reservation for up to 10 people. $2 mystery beer machine, full bar. Check it all out, fullingwarehouse.com.
All right, we're back here on the Morning Woodward Show live, woodwardsports.com. We will be joined shortly by KoolAid. Have a little bit of a conversation about what's going on here in Detroit. To wrap up last segment, I think at the end of the day, there's 2 things we all need to understand, okay? Number 1, I want you all to just go back and revisit the lead up and the aftermath of the Detroit Lions in the last 2 years during the NFL draft. Prior and after. Okay?
Okay.
And I want you to learn something from Brad Holmes, which is very, very simple. 1, he likes to double down on certain positions of need. And number 2, he has zero interest in spending any first-round picks on anything but high-value players. Value meaning positional value. He's looking for the offensive lineman, the defensive lineman, the interior lineman, I think, this year. He's looking for that wide receiver game changer.
Mm-hmm.
God knows how to build a football team. We're joined now by Brandon Dent. Brandon, it's been a minute, buddy. It's been a minute. Nice to see you. I do have to ask you to start before I let Jeff go, which is how, in God's name, have you endured the last month and a half of Detroit Pistons basketball?
Oh, brother. First of all, thank you for the welcome, man. I'm glad to be here. It's been tough, but the arena has made it fun. Being at LCA has made it really, really fun. They've been, top 12 in attendance. But the play, the defense, it's not been fun, yo. It's not been fun. It's been something that, you want to wait, you want to assess. I said I wanted to wait until we got to about 30-40% of the way into the season to be able to really make an assessment. And whatever they're doing on defense just hasn't met it just hasn't met the mark, man. And that's probably been the most disappointing thing about the season. Beyond injuries and things of that nature, which you can't control, I want to see them go out there and defend. And it's just, that's made it kind of tough.
And I want to ask you, too, last night, or not just last night, but over the last, stretch of games, Killian Hayes, man. Like, we talk about him a lot on Woodward Pistons. You can check that out at Woodward Pistons, all socials and YouTube. We discussed him and kind of, overall thoughts on Killian, the lows, the highs. What do we think his future looks like? Brandon, if there's a stretch of games to play some of your best basketball, it's to end the season. Am I right with Killian Hayes? How important is this stretch for him to prove to not only, because Dwayne always has believed in him, but Troy Weaver specifically, that could be your backup future point guard?
Yeah, it's very important for Killian, and even more so, even if it's not the backup point guard, there are other roles to fill on this team that I think Killian Hayes at the right price can provide for the Pistons. So it's important for him to go out there and prove that he's confident, prove that he's consistent, prove that he's above all of the, the things that generally knock him off. I want to see Killian go out there and ultimately do what he set out to prove in the beginning of the season. That's be a defensive leader. That's been, like I said, the defense has been disappointing. We sat here, we talked about it. He said this is what he was going to work on, and I want to see him go out there and do that consistently. I think the playmaking is something he's always going to show to be good at.
Right.
But the defense and proving that you can be a reliable, offensive player beyond just I can pass the ball, that's what I want to see out of Killian Hayes.
And there's two things, too. Like, last night it was ugly. I watched the game. I mean, not only were you out a bunch of players and you're pulling guys up on 10-day contracts and in the G League, you're pulling up to play. But on top of that, Wiseman's in foul trouble. That was your only big out there. So, I mean, if you want Marvin Bagley to play center, I got nothing for you. It ain't happening.
I would rather have Wiseman in the future than Killian Hayes at this point.
And that's what I wanted to ask you. Wiseman, can we talk about Wiseman?
I love it.
Well, not before I ask Brendan this.
Okay, go on.
If you don't mind. Brandon?
What up, though?
He's going to bring up Wiseman, rightfully so, by the way. Great move.
What do you got?
It's a great move. Love the trade.
Jeff, what is he about to say, man?
Killian Hayes is shooting 28% from 3 and 37% from the field. In his last 10, he's shooting 38% from the field. So it's not like he's coming on a hot streak. He scored 21 the other night, shooting 41%.
Yeah.
Like, we used to make fun of Kobe Bryant for scoring 30 on 41% of shooting. Like, come on. Kid's hot garbage. If he's a backup in the NBA, sure, I'll consider it. But he's got to stop shooting the ball. He needs to score 4 points a game on 2 shots. And he needs to just get 6, 7, 8 assists a game, and that's it. And just fuck off.
Look, and that's the thing. We wanted to see Killian Hayes at least go out there and do what he said he's good at, and that's play, make, and defense. That's what we want to see. Yeah, I want to see him shoot better. We say we want to see Killian go out there, even if it looks ugly, but get to 30%.
Shoot better, though. I mean, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's like, get to 30% shooting from 3-point, from behind the arc. That's what we wanted to see out of Killian Hayes. It's not looking good, and realistically, the answers all year have been, it's up top. We hope he figures it out. We have to figure something out. That's when it gets a little bit concerning or alarming, but he's shown at a base level that he can be a reputable backup point guard. I believe that kind of removing this experiment with starting point guard, that was great for his career, and I think it was great for the Pistons because we've seen previous regimes get stuck on these guys. Where he is right now, I honestly, whatever they're going to do with Kojo, I'm sitting here now saying if the Pistons somehow, we just talked about this with Rod and Laz Jackson of Detroit Bad Boys, if they wound up going with Scoot, we came into this season salivating or thinking about the prospects of a 3-guard rotation of Killian, Cade, and Ivy. Going into next year with Kojo as the 4th guard, going into next year, I'm perfectly fine if they went Cade, Scoot, Ivy as a 3-guard rotation. However, they decided to make it work and had Killian potentially as that Kojo role.
But my problem with that, and it has nothing to do with Scoot as a player, and I don't mind the 3-guard lineup. The problem I have, though, is I want to keep the ball. Now we're seeing Ivy be more of a point guard, right? I mean, that's kind of what you've been seeing with Cade out, is putting the ball in his hands. You're seeing his playmaking ability, which we kind of knew he had coming in. I mean, you always look at what is he asked to do at Purdue. You're seeing that pan out now. But in your opinion, could I make an argument that player, yes, I think Scoot would be widely regarded as the second best player in the draft, but could I make an argument for my guy Brandon Miller or somebody like a Brandon Miller that could effortlessly come into this lineup and squeeze right in, and you still can keep the ball in Ivy and Cade's hands? Because let's be honest, as those guys turn into all-stars like we think they will, you're going to want to keep it in those guys' hands. But again, you could also make the argument. You could also make the argument back saying, well, Jeff, they have to go BPA. It's not about fit. So I think both apply. But am I wrong for thinking that way?
No, you're not wrong for thinking that way. And you want your GM to really, really parse this thing that way. I don't want Troy Weaver going into this draft just, listening to whatever the pundits say. I think that's how we wound up with a guy named Darko Milicic. It was just kind of what was hot. Even Andre Drummond. When you go back to the reports and if you remember the time when they were looking at him, it was about what some of the pundits were saying. I remember Joe Dumas, hey, you got to look at this guy. I heard this, I heard that. It's like, no, take a long look at these prospects and know that you're getting the right guy. Because best player available, sometimes it is about the fit. It really is when you're talking about high-level prospects and what your team needs to take the next step. Because What are we seeing them do this year with prospects? They have to make a decision on Sadiq Bey, on Killian Hayes, on Isaiah Stewart. So if you're picking a guy that's not going to help your team get to the next level, then you're just setting yourself back even more, whether that's, Scoot or Brandon Miller. I do believe that Brandon Miller fits kind of what we need right now, like the absolute
that
wing.
Jeremy Grant role.
Yeah, it's what we talked about all season. We called that last summer, that this squad was going to miss a player like that tremendously.
Especially defensively.
Yep.
But I appreciate you joining us, Brandon, man. By the way, before you leave, so where can people find you? Detroit Pistons beat writer for Woodward Sports,
yes, sir.
Social media.
Yes, sir.
What do you got
Woodward
going on?
Sports, Woodward Pistons, and at Detroit KoolAid, always. Going to be posting a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff on the beat. We try to make sure we show when when the players are interacting with the fans behind the scenes. Try to take some pictures of them from the press conference room so you can see these guys are really, really, really feeling it. They're coming in, and I remember Stu, before he was injured, was just coming in and really, really like, yo, we're trying to get this right. And you can see it on their face. So, yeah, definitely. Detroit KoolAid, Woodward Pistons, and always Woodward Sports.
And check out Woodward Sports. Brandon writes great articles on the Pistons. You can check all his stuff out, including our other Pistons beat writers as well. But, yeah, I appreciate you joining, Brandon. Seriously.
Well done, Brandon. Appreciate you,
My
brother.
man.
Thank you.
Woodward Pistons. Check it out.
Hey, as always.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we get back, mailbag time. Drop your questions in the chat. Jeff and I will get to them immediately. But before we go, Jeff, our good friends over at Alta.
Alta Uptime matters. Alta Equipment has everything you need to get the job done. If you have a big project coming up, Alta has you covered. Call them today, 844-GO-TO-ALTA. That's 844-GO-TO-ALTA today.
You don't have to go to the beach, man. You don't have to get your butt crack full of sand. You just need a little chili peppers, man, to get that glowing beach chili peppers tan.
Join the Pepper Club for all the best deals in town. Plus, they will beat all competitors by $5. ChiliPeppersTanning.com. Hottest bulbs, hottest deals, darkest tans. Your vitamin D headquarters.
You just need a little chili peppers, man.
Get a shot up. This is for the win. All of Detroit's sports teams live on Woodward. All of Detroit's sports coverage lives on Woodward Sports. Driving the best in Detroit sports coverage.
What are we doing here?
Man, you know what?
What are we doing here?
I bet the people
sitting there jerking off your dick.
I bet the people
trying to get through a read. What are we doing here?
Hold on. I think the people are so upset that they didn't get to hear my ad read. I can't imagine.
Yeah, well, you're not doing it again. So I want to get to the people. Questions coming up. Unbelievable. Here we go. Jeff, question for you. Are you Helen Keller?
Am I Helen Keller?
No. You don't get the joke, do you? Oh, that's unfortunate. All right, who's going to enforce that? Who's going to fire Weaver? That's stupid.
Wait,
I don't know. It's a lot of context. I don't know.
Who said that?
I don't know.
Who said that?
I don't know. Mailbag. I know, Adam. I know you loved when Michigan choked Vanderbilt Saturday. Oh, hell yeah, I did. Hell yeah, I did. Not because I didn't want Michigan to win. Actually, not at all. I laughed because it embodies their entire season and how shit they've been in one-possession games. Forget the Weaver stuff, Jeff. Come on, move on. Mailbag, I know you don't want a corner at 6, but who's our nickel corner? It's not Akuda. It's Gardner Johnson.
Yeah, it'd be CJ. Yeah,
it's Gardner Johnson. He's your nickel corner. He can play multiple positions. Your outside corners will be Cam Sutton, a mixture of Jeff Akuda and Emmanuel Mose. I think it's pretty simple, to be honest.
Yeah, Jeff's getting slowly squeezed back in that the depth chart there. So...
All right, can we trade the entire Tigers roster for Ohtani? Did you watch the game last night?
Yeah, Ohtani.
That was electric.
And Neil put out a tweet, and he put in our group chat we have for WSN. How it's like we know how great Ohtani is, but he really doesn't get still the flowers he rightfully deserves.
Stupid ass in New York won MVP for no reason.
The stupid ass. Well,
Ohtani put up Cy Young numbers.
I know. Yeah.
I got nothing.
You can make an argument he's MVP every year. He's incredible.
Mailbag, if you need to move up to 38 for Campbell, do you do it? Yes.
Move up to what?
38.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
no
I do it in a heartbeat. I give up 48. I give up 48 in a future third because I have 2 of them.
The 2 guys that I would move up for are Campbell or Emmanuel Forbes. Because I think if you go...
I don't hate that.
Yeah, those are the 2 guys I'm looking at.
Mailbag, if Jalen Carter is off the board, when would you get a D end at 6? Or, excuse me, a defensive lineman at 6? Well, I would consider Tyree Wilson or Kalijah Kancey.
I was going to say your eyes go to...
It's not changing.
If your eyes are looking at an interior defensive tackle, you're looking at Kancey. So,
but I do think, I do have a hunch. I think Carter's going to fall, guys.
I do too.
And I also think Brad Holmes would pass on him. I do. I do think so. I think they have a model for how they want to draft their players, what they embody. Again, you haven't heard a peep out of players like Tyree Wilson or Kalijah Kancey. Characters, you don't question them. You don't want to have to question a defensive lineman who has a very difficult job, who's going to be tired all game. You don't want to question their motor, their will, their drive, their stamina. You don't want to have to do that.
Jack says, Mailbag Jeff, are we getting an MSU game preview tomorrow? I mean, we might talk a little college basketball, but...
No, 100% we will. No, we're in the Sweet 16 now. This is where shit gets fun.
At the beginning, we're not as much discussing it, especially when the Lions are busy with their moves they're doing. But yeah, we will bring up MSU. We will.
Oh, God. Pass on Carter and you'll be sorry. You say that now, dude, but I'm sorry. You got to check off certain boxes to get drafted in the top 5, top 6, top 10 for me. This isn't Micah Parsons' hazing issues, character issues. This is different. This is a guy that already struggled with fitness during the season at Georgia, showed up overweight to his literal job interview.
Remember what Dan said in Hard Knocks?
Yeah, we don't know turds here.
Well, he said no turds, but he's like, show up in shape.
Yep.
Work like it's like the stuff.
It's everything that they don't want. He is.
So they'd have you. That's why
you'd have to go against everything you've preached for 2 years.
So that's why the interview.
That's why I see it happen.
The interview process is super important. I don't know what he's like in the interview process, but that's going to be the end all be all.
Expectations for JMO. I want to see Jamison Williams get about 57 to 63 catches for about.
Give me close to 1,000
yards, 1,100 yards, and about 6-7 touchdowns.
If he comes out, puts up a band, puts up 1,000.
I think he'll get about 18 yards of reception next year. Yeah. That's my number. 18 yards of reception.
Yards after catch is going to be nuts.
You two versus Neal and McCarty in a WWE tag team match. Who wins? They do.
Well, I think D-Mac.
D-Mac solos us 100%.
Yeah, whoever has D-Mac is
he takes
winning.
Care of us by himself. So
he's the number 1 pick in that.
That doesn't mean shit. We're out of here. Thank you guys so much. It's been a fun show. Alex, thank you as always for doing double duty today. We'll have JB back in the booth tomorrow. We'll take calls. We'll have the phone lines open, 313-552-6322. Thank you as always. Drop a like on the video. Make sure you're subscribed to the Woodward Sports YouTube channel. For Jeff, for myself, we're out of here. Till tomorrow. Have a great day.
Thank you.